You may have noticed the discourse swirling around the Watchmen character Rorschach recently. I don't know what started this, but like, I guess I'm gonna nerd out for a second because I love that. I love Watchmen. I think Watchmen's fantastic. But everybody is arguing about Rorschach. Boom Twack, thanks for 14 months. Because there's a debate going on whether or not he's intended to be a sympathetic character, basically. Yeah. A bunch of people were saying that they considered him to be the main protagonist and the hero of Watchmen, of the story. And a bunch of other people were quick to point out that he's kind of an anti-hero that you're not supposed to idolize. They're like, oh, he's, you know, he's written to be a sociopath and you shouldn't idolize with a sociopath. It's like that starter pack meme. You know, like you missed the point by idolizing with them starter pack. But the reason that everybody is arguing about it is because literal 14-year-olds finally finding Watchmen. I don't agree because I don't think he's a good example of that type of character. I think he is a sociopath, but he's a little bit more nuanced than that. I think that if you remember, the character specifically is the only one who basically doesn't want a genocide to happen at the end, and they kill him for it. Spoilers. Okay, and he's the only one who kind of like sticks to his principles over the course of the thing, and he at the end of it, it's fucking 40 years old. Shut the fuck up. And then at the end of it, you know, it's like he values the truth more over I don't know, what's convenient or what have you. I'm not saying spoilers for something that's fucking almost 50 years old, guys. And that was how I always saw the character. I always saw him as kind of like a, you know, there's good to him, there's bad to him. He was nuanced. I thought it was a well-written character that I always liked. And then that was where I stood on it. And then out of nowhere comes this wild quote from the author, Alan Moore, who wrote it, right? And he's specifically telling a journalist who's interviewing him that he wrote the character to be a piece of shit, fundamentally unlikable, and a bad person. And it was weird because it was like, it almost reads like, no, it reads like he doesn't understand what he wrote. It reads like, honestly, yeah, it reads like he, I don't know, doesn't remember what he wrote. It reads like he doesn't have a fundamental understanding of what he wrote. I don't know. Death of the author type shit. Trolling, maybe. Somebody mentioned that. I saw a thread about people talking about this, which honestly I thought was cool. I was like, finally, I'm seeing a fucking... Really, this was how I felt about it. Here's a conversation on Twitter that feels worth having, where people are like actually having an educated, really, like an educated discussion about like a piece of literature that's good. And it's a good thing. And it was really, I was kind of taken aback by it because I feel like I almost never see that on that website. You know, people actually having a like mostly civil conversation, and they were what felt like educated people and intelligent takes on both sides of the conversation, honestly. Like actually well thought out takes on both sides. People having positions that weren't just like, you know, reactionary gibberish. And I don't know. But, Mike, Alan Moore wrote an explicit novel about the sex lives of literary young women in their older years. Well, here's the thing, right? He's fucking insane. I think death of the author absolutely implies with Alan Moore. Like, and I feel like he might even be shitposting when he says that there's nothing good about the character, especially when the character, again, is the only one who feels like consistently principled throughout the course of that story, even if you don't always agree with his methods and you don't agree with like his philosophy necessarily. It at least, like, at the end of the day goes back to protecting people and like doing the right thing and something that's not sociopathic. And then he dies for it. So what did he say exactly? He said something like, Rorschach is a character who smells bad and is forever alone. He smells bad and he can't get a girlfriend. So I'm very puzzled when people tell me that he's their favorite character or they identify with that character. Because he's smelly and can't get a girlfriend and doesn't know how to use deodorant. I wrote him to be a loser. So if anybody who identifies with him is probably a loser. And I was like, dude, that is a tiny brain interpretation of his own character, honestly. Which this and again, this comes across even more if you've read Watchmen, which I have read that. Like I didn't just watch the movie, like I read it. How is that evil? Well, he's also very violent and unhinged. Which I think was also touched on in that comment. Again, I'm paraphrasing, so. And Diesel Lemon points out, the man is a literal Rorschach test. Okay. But here's my question for you. Was that intended? And if that was intended, don't you think that would have been Alan Moore's like smug reply to that reporter? Instead of, wait a minute, he has body odor and he sucks. Because that was how I wrote him. Rorschach seems like an ironic character. He's problematic, but his consistent standards and pursuit of truth is what's important. That's how I think a intelligent person reads him. You know, again, that's nuanced, and those are the best characters. No one, the black and white characters aren't. Well, he's literally is black and white, but you get what I'm saying. The black and white characters are never the interesting ones. He is the most interesting character by miles in that story. I mean, look at fucking Dr. Manhattan. Everybody's like, oh, Dr. Manhattan. Dr. Manhattan is like a fucking Reddit atheist. Fuck Dr. Manhattan. Why the fuck are people idolizing Dr. Manhattan? Watchmen was such a good graphic novel. Read Watchmen if you haven't read it, I think. I think it holds up real well. I think it's great. Watch it. Watch it. Read it. Bleh, read it. Read it. Oh, there was a fucking, like, television series at one point, right? Which I never saw. I never saw it. Is it S? Did it get canceled? What happened? Don't idolize any of them. Oh, yeah, you should. No, none of the characters are, like, good. You know, but. I remember when people who didn't read it thought Dr. Manhattan was a superhero. Well, what he's doing is he's doing. And actually, this genre, I think, is a little bit played out now because of him paving the way for it. It's one of those things where it's like maybe you see this and you think it's not that interesting because, you know, so many people have done it, but he did it first. Like, The Boys is one of those things, like, The Boys wouldn't exist without Watchmen. Any of those, like, well, the genre is this. The genre is like, this is what would happen if superheroes actually existed. Basically. Right? But Alan Moore, I think, Alan Moore invented that. Alan Moore, I think, did that first. I don't know if somebody did it before him. I'm not aware of it. There's a comic from a few years ago called Rorschach, and it's a sequel. Did Alan Moore wrote a sequel? You mean like prequel, right? He's a deconstruction of Superman. Yeah. Rorschach is evil because nobody truly good would try to prevent New York City from being destroyed. Yeah. The series kicks the movie's ass. I thought the movie was good. He said it's a low bar. The movie's not that bad. I mean, if you, of course, you're not going to think it's good if you read the graphic novel, but I think it comes decently close to representing the contents of that story. No? Movie is awful. I don't think it's awful. He didn't write the Rorschach comic. Then why? All right, I don't know. I just wanted to talk about this Rorschach thing because thought it was interesting. And I don't know what started it. I don't know, but it's like everywhere. I don't know what somebody. I think there was a viral tweet that kicked it off where somebody was like, "You're stupid because you like this character." Oh, the series is it's a take on it. I got to see this series, I think.